On this channel, we'll always be going over game prices and getting the best deal so you guys can save as much money as possible. And more recently, I've always talked about how spending $60 for a game is very questionable just because of how quickly games go on sale. And we see it in the comment section that a lot of you guys have taken to my advice. I see a lot of comments saying because of this channel, I don't spend $60 on games anymore, and I take great pleasure in seeing comments like that. And it also makes me happy that you guys are taking my advice, but also for those of you guys that are still dropping $60 on games, hey, more power to you. If you want to play the games day one, I can't say anything bad about that. However, in this video, and it's gonna be a new series, I want to take a look at very recent PlayStation 4 game releases and see how quickly they've gotten so cheap. All of these games came out within the last 6 months or so in a 6-month period, a game dropping at half value or even less than that, that's pretty shocking, and that should be a telltale sign. Hey, if you can wait a little bit, it's gonna end up paying some major dividends. With a lot of these games, they didn't even last 6 months, they got cheaper even quicker, and some of these games came out as early as December of 2018. That's just 2 months ago, and they got as low as 50% off. That's crazy to me, and hopefully with a series like this, you guys can visualize actually how much money you could be saving on even the most recent of game releases. Now, we're not mentioning any games that were released in 2019 thus far because they haven't gotten super cheap, but even a couple of titles I'm pointing at, like an Ace Combat 7, I've seen that game discounted $10 off, $15 off. And sooner rather than later, I could see that game hitting, you know, the 50% off threshold as well. So without further ado, I'm excited to do this series for you guys, so let's get right into it. First up, one that got shockingly low in price is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I've seen this game as low as $20, and my recollection is failing me a little bit right now, but it might have been as low as like $18 and change, but that is just absolutely crazy to me. This game came out back in early October, and it's not like from a commercial or critical standpoint it was a complete failure. No, the reception to Assassin's Creed Odyssey was relatively strong. We always know that Ubisoft games are going to get discounted quickly. That's why I'm very hesitant in recommending any Ubi title on day one, just because we know very quickly it's gonna go super cheap, and we saw that with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In the case of AC Odyssey, it got down to 50% off a month after release during Black Friday week, but right now it's regularly available for $20, sometimes even less than that, and that's kind of shocking to me. Unfortunately, this is a game that's riddled with some microtransactions. There's no problem in playing the game, they don't hinder the experience all too much, but I do have to say I found the game a little bit grindy if you just wanted to go through the main story, so that was a little bit disappointing to me, but if you're paying $20 for the game, hey, that's terrific value. Next up, another game that got cheap shockingly quickly, Battlefield 5. Its lowest that I saw it for was $24, and that was available directly off the PlayStation Store. And Battlefield 5 was a game right after its late November release. It got down to that $30 price point a week after release, I want to say, and it stayed at that $30 threshold for a while. It wasn't going lower than that, but as a part of this Critics' Choice sale that the PlayStation Store is running, Battlefield 5 did get down to $24. And of course, we know why. This game was a commercial disaster. How EA promoted this game was an absolute train wreck, but fundamentally Battlefield 5 as a game, it's pretty good. DICE has been consistently updating the game, and what you get here is actually quality. So for $24, I would recommend the game, especially if you're a Battlefield fan and looking for a fun competitive FPS. Next up, a game that just came out 2 months ago, Darksiders 3 got down to $30. Now, this was a game ahead of its release. I was saying wait on a sale for this one just because I didn't know how it was going to resonate with gamers from a quality standpoint, and I knew that this game probably wasn't going to sell all too well and it would be discounted rather quickly. However, THQ Nordic did recently just confirm that this game broke even and now it's making profit, and that's just 2 months after release, so hey, congrats to them. But now that the game is readily available for $30, I don't even know if the game is worth that price point just because of its lukewarm reception, but if you're a Darksiders fan, hey, for $30, it's not a bad buy. And there's a quality time to be had here. They recently just released a DLC for Darksiders 3 as well in the Crucible. That's a $6 paid DLC, so just bear that in mind, but the base game for $30, that is a pretty solid pickup. Next up is one that even though it got super cheap, I wouldn't recommend it at this price point. Just Cause 4 is down to $30. Oh my god, so much could be said about Just Cause 4. Just Cause 3, of course, came out earlier this generation, and the main issue with that game was from a technical standpoint. It was just a technical disaster. but fundamentally that game was pretty good, and over the years it became a better and better game. Just Cause 4 really seemed like a step backwards for the Just Cause franchise. Yes, there's a fun open world to get into here, you can still make a lot of explosions, but from a content standpoint, it's not as strong as the other Just Cause games, and that's really disappointing. And from a commercial and critical standpoint, it really showed. Reviews weren't all too strong, I don't think sales were all too hot either, and it's already down to $30, but again, I wouldn't recommend it at this price point because I could see it hitting that sub $20 range very, very quickly. Here's one that was another surpriser in how quick it got so cheap, and that's because the Call of Duty games generally retain in value, and that's Call of Duty Black Ops 4. This got as low as $30, and it was available for $30 at Best Buy, so if you had GCU, you could get it for even cheaper. But again, Call of Duty games generally retain their value for quite a while. We've seen that trend be bucked a little bit in recent years, but I thought with Black Ops 4, because they were introducing Battle Royale, because it was solely a multiplayer-focused experience, I thought with this one it was gonna hold up in value for a little while longer, but hey, no, it already got down to $30, and Black Ops 4 is a pretty good multiplayer game. This one definitely did well from a sales standpoint. I think Activision has just changed their thinking and how they put their games at discounts. I think the thought process has just been changed in how quickly Call of Duty games are going to be put on sale, because recent years, World War II was put on sale pretty quickly, and I'm pretty sure IW was as well, so this just seems to be like a trend changing, and that's pretty cool to see because not everybody wants to drop a full $60 on a Call of Duty game being released every year, but hey, if we can get it a couple months later for half the price, that's a much more palatable pickup. Next up is one that's a little bit underrated in how quickly it got cheap, but the Spyro and Crash collection went down to $30 on Newegg the other day. Now, Spyro Reignited Trilogy was received very, very well, and as a trilogy, that standalone has held up in value. The cheapest you're going to be picking that up for is around $30. I think I saw it for $20 like one time, but the Spyro and Crash Trilogy collection, I'm seeing it all the time for $30. Now, this includes the Spyro Trilogy as well as the Crash Trilogy, so if you own either trilogy, it's kind of a bummer and the value lessens there, but if you've yet to check out either of them, getting both for $30 is a great buy, a great blast from the past, but it also modernizes the experiences. They look great, especially in the case of the Spyro Trilogy. Now that these have done so well from a sales standpoint, hopefully we can see new Spyro and Crash games sometime in the future. We also know that Crash Nitro Racing is happening, so that's something to look forward to, but Spyro and Crash Collection for $30, yeah, that's a great buy. Here's one that while it got so cheap, it's a game that's still gonna be memed on, it's a game that's still gonna be dumped on, and that's Fallout 76. It got as low as $30. Now, Fallout 76, with how poorly this game has been received, I'm surprised it hasn't gotten considerably cheaper than $30, but you also have to add into the fact Bethesda open world titles generally hold up in value for quite a while. You go back to the release of Skyrim, that was $60 for a very long time, as was Fallout 4. Fallout 76, if you compare it to those two games, plummeted in price rather quickly, and it's obvious to see why. Critically, this game was a disaster, fan reception was a disaster, and Fallout 76 as a whole is pretty much a disaster. Now, Bethesda is still committed to the game. 2019 is going to bring with it a lot of updates. Would I recommend it at $30? Probably not, because I see it getting considerably cheaper soon. But once it gets down to sub $20, hey, it might not be a bad buy. Honestly, with this one, I could see it being a PlayStation Plus game down the line as well, but just one that I wanted to note because of how cheap it got so quickly. Next one was one that was a little bit of a surpriser to me, because JRPGs traditionally hold up in value for quite a while, and that's Valkyria Chronicles 4. That got down to $18 and change. That's the lowest price I remember it for, but you can readily find the game available for $20. This game released back in late September at a full $60 price point, and I bought it day one. I will be completely honest with that, and I loved the game. I was a big fan of the first Valkyria Chronicles, and Valkyria Chronicles 4, it retained a lot of the fundamentals that game set, but it had the great storytelling, it had the great gameplay, you had a new class, you had a great cast of characters. I can say a lot of good about Valkyria Chronicles 4, but I get if you didn't play Valkyria Chronicles 1, VC4 was probably a little bit of a hard sell. However, at $20, or if you can find it for even less than that, it is a great tactical JRPG with a great cast of characters, and like I said, a great story as well, so definitely give it a look, especially with how cheap it's gotten. Next up, we have Destiny 2, the Forsaken Collection. That was, I believe, released for $59.99. It is now readily available for $20, so 5 months after Forsaken's release, the entire Destiny 2 experience is available for $20. That's pretty incredible to me. Destiny 2 Forsaken does jolt up the game quite a bit. I know Destiny 2 is another one of those games that had a little bit of a lukewarm reception. Destiny as a whole kind of had that reception, but Forsaken and all of the additional content you get on top of the base Destiny 2 experience, to get all that for $20, I would say that that is a pretty good pickup, especially if you have a couple friends to play with. I feel like the value of Destiny 2, however, lessens a little bit because Destiny 2 was offered as a PlayStation Plus title back in August, I believe, or September. So you have to keep that in mind. A lot of you guys have the base Destiny 2 game, but if you don't, the Forsaken Collection is a good buy, especially with how cheap it's gotten. And lastly, Shadow of the Tomb Raider also got cheap rather quickly, but after getting cheap, it hit that $30 price point really quickly. It's kind of rested at that $30 price. It hasn't gotten lower than that, which is a little bit of a bummer. I thought Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a great game. From a storytelling standpoint, not the best, but from a gameplay standpoint, which is really what you're going into a Tomb Raider game for, it is a lot stronger than Rise of the Tomb Raider in my eyes. You've got more variety in the gameplay, you've got more content. It's really what a sequel should be in that regard. I think the promotion of this game was a little bit botched with them announcing a bunch of DLC for the game even before gameplay was revealed of the game. I made a video ahead of Shadow of the Tomb Raider's release expecting this game to be a commercial flop, and a lot of you guys gave me backlash for that. I'm gonna bring that up because I want my just due now all these months later with this game getting so cheap, with it being pretty much confirmed that it was a commercial botch. But yeah, enough stroking my own ego. The game itself is really good, and for $30, I would give it a recommendation. I also should note, if you want all that DLC content, I do see the Croft Edition go on sale pretty regularly for $45 as well. Essentially, you're paying $15 for the season pass, and I believe you get a cool steelbook with that as well, so that's something to check out as well. That's gonna conclude this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope it was a little bit eye-opening to those of you guys that buy all of these games on day one, that yeah, they get cheap pretty quickly. I mean, if you bought all of these games on day one, you drop $600. Right now, you're dropping well under $300. If you pick them up, I think you're actually paying in the $250 range, so that's pretty shocking. And I know there are people that buy every game at $60 day one. They don't have Gamers Club unlocked, they just go to GameStop or whatever and drop $60. I just don't think that's the right way to go, especially if you're on a budget. Even if you're not on a budget, you'll really have time to play all of these games thoroughly before the next one releases. Just my input. You guys do whatever you want. I'm just here to try to guide you in the direction that best suits you. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.